All right, the time now being 6:42, we'll open up our first public hearing. Let me read this first and then introduce the board. Town of West Bridgewater, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, and the West Bridgewater zoning bylaws, Sections 4.6 Water Resource Protection District, 7.2 Site Plan, 4.4 Table of Use Regulations, Commercial and Industrial Uses Number 2, Contractor Storage Yard, and 7.5 Special Permit, that an application was submitted by MBL Land Development and Permitting Corp. On behalf of owner LJDE LLC, and that the West Bridgewater Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 17th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the McDonald Brown Conference Room at Town Hall, 65 North Main Street, West Bridgewater, Mass. The intent of the plan is to modify a previously filed special permit / site plan application and seek a special permit and site plan approval for uses in the Water Resource Protection District for a contractor's storage yard at the property located at 0 Matfield Street, Assessors Map 13, Lot 60, and access through Oak Hill Way in Brockton. A special permit is required for activity in the Water Resource Protection District. The site plan is part of the special permit process. Start off by introducing the board. To my right is Jennifer Cruz, Marcus Bornstein, Jerry Stetson, and I'm the chairman, Jim Noyes. And before we have the applicant give a presentation, I got to read this. So I sent a letter to Dave Gagney, the town administrator, on a potential conflict of interest. I was trying to get an opinion from town council. Haven't heard back yet, but I'll read it anyways into the record. On June 17th, 2026, the planning board will be opening a public hearing for site plan / special permit for 0 Matfield Street. The site is located at the end of Oak Hill Way in the city of Brockton, with a proposed detention basin and trailer storage being proposed in West Bridgewater. The engineer for the development is MBL Land Development and Permitting Corp. The firm that I work for, Agreement Peterson Inc., has contracted with MBL in the past, primarily on aerial drone work in Taunton, Mass. I wasn't involved with any of that work and didn't even know about it until I saw their name in our project directory folder a couple of weeks ago. Our last invoice to MBL was dated October 17th, 2024, and to the best of my knowledge, all invoices have been paid. No future work is currently under discussion with MBL. As our last contracted work with MBL was over 18 months ago, my opinion is that there is no conflict of interest, but I respectfully request that the town council confirm this opinion. So that's where I'm standing now, that there is no conflict of interest, and we'll go from there.
The applicant is satisfied.
Great, thank you. Floor is all yours.
All right, I'll lead it off. This is it's an interesting one, taking a bit of a life of its own. I'm a pleasure representing LJDE and Lou Tarantino. And Lou owns about 27 acres of land off of Oak Hill Way in Brockton and in West Bridgewater. Roughly 8 acres, I think it's 8.14 acres, are in the town of West Bridgewater. We filed with the Zoning Board of Appeals to be allowed to have a contractor's yard to store the containers that's part of Lou's business. We, at the time, the bylaw was such that the Zoning Board of Appeals approved the plan. That ultimately there was a change in the bylaw, and of course, as you now know, all plans relating to the water district are handled by the planning board. So they did not approve a plan, so site plan approval is required. We got a successful determination from the Zoning Board of Appeals. A board or within this town issued a separate appeal individually. It went to Superior Court. After much deliberation and some discovery, it was ordered to be remanded back to the Zoning Board of Appeals. At that time, some modifications were made to the program. It was found acceptable by the Water Department and Town Council, and the Zoning Board of Appeals reaffirmed and issued a decision that is now final. So there is a special permit authorizing the contractor's yard. Why you have the modification is because there was an application filed prior to the change of the zoning, and the building inspector thought it would be make much more sense procedurally, and Tracy did too, to modify the application file rather than filing a new permit. So essentially, we're here and we're seeking approval of a site plan review and to deal with the issue of the containers within the area. There have been a number of modifications made on the plan, one of which included the fact that there was going to be asphalt compaction done rather than full paving. That's been changed, and there is a full detention and groundwater system that Tracy is going to go ahead and identify. The principal thing that we need to, I think, clearly made to the board, as we did to the Zoning Board of Appeals, that while these containers are part of the business operated by Mr. Tarantino, when they reach this site, they will all be empty. There is virtually, although there was some conjecture, question, comments, but there virtually will be nothing to impact the groundwater from these individual containers. And I've submitted a brief just to point out the oddity that we have in these situations. What is allowed here is agricultural. And as you'll see from the brief I submitted, there are numerous potential problems related to groundwater with agricultural use and fertilizers and everything else. This will virtually, we believe, have no impact at all in the groundwater, and I think it will be beneficial for the town. I've issued some findings, and hopefully the board won't need to get that far. But we believe that it meets the requirements of special permit and the site plan review. And while the property is in West Bridgewater, it's all one large parcel of land. Access is through a public way on Oak Hill Way in Brockton, and there is direct access to this site because it's through the owner's property as being one lot. So Tracy, I'm going to let you go ahead, and if you'd bring them up to date on the plans, be happy to answer any questions.
Sure. So for the record, I'm Tracy Dewar, I'm the Director of Engineering at MBL Land Development. We've got the index map in front of you just so you can see the entire parcel is within green. The orange line is the town boundary, so that's the 29 acres in Brockton up top and the 8 acres in West Bridgewater below. And the site's legal frontage, as Jim said, is through Oak Hill Way. It's actually got a 0 Matfield address, but Matfield Street's about a half a mile south. So this is our existing conditions plan of the West Bridgewater parcel. It's bisected by a 150-foot wide electric easement, and the site's mostly cleared. There are 3 wetland areas. They're all isolated vegetated wetlands, 1 in each of the southern corners, and 1 is in Brockton with the buffer zone extending into West Bridgewater. So the applicant is proposing 3 total storage yard areas. They're all going to be paved and heavy-duty pavement and have berm around it. There's a 15,000 square foot one just below the town line, a smaller 7,000 square foot one. These are both north of the electric easement. And the larger one is on the other side of the easement and 77,000 square feet. And there's also 6-foot fencing proposed along the property line on these sides. This side is already fenced with the railroad fencing. As part of the Brockton development, they're putting in a 20,000 square foot maintenance building. It's going to be the EOMS headquarters building. Some of the stormwater from the Brockton site is going to be discharged into a basin in West Bridgewater. There's actually current Conservation Commission approval with this basin that was approved about 6 years ago now. It's still active. So we're keeping that basin to design, to function as it was originally designed. There are 3 new basins in total for the new storage yard areas. Each of these basins are going to collect stormwater through deep sump hooded catch basins, drain manholes, water quality units, and discharge into a sediment forebay and then an infiltration basin that will infiltrate the stormwater runoff, recharge it back into the ground, with overflow discharging to the 3 vernal pool area, the 3 isolated vegetated wetland areas. So that's pretty much the bulk of it.
So for what you're showing there and what exists there today, it's gonna be a total different looking lot.
Correct, because right now it's bare.
Well, there's a lot of piles of stuff.
They've been removed out of West Bridgewater.
Well, down near the pole line, it's just pushed up brush and tree trimmings.
Stumps, yeah, they'll have to clean that up.
It's a gravel pit, but it's gonna end up being a clear, like you said,
Clear open pavement.
compacted blacktop,
Heavy duty pavement.
reprocessed
No.
blacktop.
No, it's gonna be full depth, heavy duty
Gravel.
pavement. Not gravel, asphalt,
Okay.
yeah. And that's because gravel, you'll get some infiltration into the ground, and we're
Okay.
trying to avoid that in the aquifer district.
So all the parking, like everything's
Yeah.
paved? that's
Everything's
for sure.
paved, it's gonna have berm, so there's no stormwater spilling over, no stormwater going into the ground before it goes into the drainage system. And there's not really any parking that's gonna be happening, just the empty container storage. There will be vehicle movement to get, the containers in and out of the site.
Can you tell me what EOMS building, what does that mean?
So our applicant, Lou Tarantino, owns EOMS Recycling. And they actually have their headquarters right now in West Bridgewater.
Right on Manley Street.
Yeah.
Is that what
What
I
does it
would
stand
think
for?
it is, recycling for metals and paper and
It's
all?
more, they're collection vehicles, so we go, it's not actually doing any recycling on site. It's just, we're not gonna do any on site here either. It's just parking trucks. The building that we're building or proposing on the Brockton side is offices, 13,000 square foot of office, and it's a maintenance space. Just,
Pretty good sized maintenance, right? So you'll have your maintenance, because if it's 20,000, so it'll be like you'll be fixing your stuff, your vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, more topping off floors. The trucks are newer. We're not in that business, but.
So the other part is, can you show me, I need a little more orientation with the map. I'm a little slow with that. Can you show me where the in and out route is for the big trucks that have these containers on them?
Sure.
The
Go back to the index, but I also have the Brockton
So these
site
are
plans.
containers like I would see on a ship when I live in a
Yeah, exactly.
or they are containers. I've seen those.
Shipping
Yeah,
containers.
shipping containers or trash containers.
Yeah, open top containers
Yeah.
and triples.
Okay, so
Alright,
where's
so
the?
this is the, just the overview of the whole property in orange. So that's the site access through the end of Oak Hill Way in Brockton.
Oak Hill Way is where the UPS.
Yeah,
ever been to
UPS
the
is-
UPS
Oh, yeah,
place
yeah.
up there?
The
But
wastewater
this is
treatment plant.
Go past UPS and just drive.
Okay.
Yeah, like the dead end go straight into the site, you don't have to turn. But I can get you the Brockton plans, which will show you what that layout looks
Cross
like. So you
streets,
can
that'd
see
be
how-
great. Let me see. And then the other part is who are the abutters there?
In West Bridgewater or
Yeah, I
Brockton?
guess I care about West Bridgewater.
So, looking at the West Bridgewater parcel, it's the town of West Bridgewater to the west and south, and then the railroad to the east. And then it's still our property to the north. All right, so this is the Brockton portion of the site. This is the end of Oak Hill Way where you come into the site. So the access route's gonna be like this. It's gonna come down. This is actually the match line with the West Bridgewater plans. This is the town line right here. And then this is that smaller storage yard that we talked about.
Have you had a chance to address, I got two things, address Pat Brennan's?
We haven't
I
made
was just gonna ask the same
we
thing.
haven't made the plan changes. They're very minor.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for Brockton to get their peer review comments, so we'd like to address everything at once and have one set of plans approved.
Okay. That was
Um,
going to be my next question.
But they are very minor. They won't affect the
Yeah.
design.
Is there any detention on the Brockton, or is it all West Bridgewater?
There are 2 infiltration basins that were already constructed that were part of that original approval.
Okay.
And so they're taking a good chunk of it. It's honestly mostly the roof, which is clean, that's going into West Bridgewater.
Because my question was going to be, I know the reviews are being separate, so Brockton's going to be doing stormwater. Is there any chance that the basin design will get bigger in West Bridgewater?
No, it's oversized. So the previously approved plans that were approved both in Brockton and West Bridgewater were the site fully built out in Brockton, right up to the 25-foot buffer zone. It had a 100,000 square foot building, all that stuff that's not getting done now. So those basins were over-designed, so to speak.
Can we get responses to Pat Brennan's comments and the corrections to the drawings made? Because
Yeah, we can.
we have mounting calculations that are incorrect.
Correct, but
That says
he did check
topsoil.
it and say we're still below the bottom of the basin, so it'll work. And like I said, they're very minor. We just don't want to we can make those revisions, but we don't want to make them and ask you to approve them, and then something change in Brockton, and so we want one full set is what we'd like to do. But they're all addressable, I believe.
So you're looking to continue this until Brockton has their meeting? Is that what you're looking to do?
What do you guys want me to do? Jim, do you have a, that's
So
my preference.
really,
We
we
were
have to
hoping
wait
we'd
for
have.
Brockton to make their determination before we can.
We'd like to
take
get
it.
their peer review to address all their comments
Huh?
and yours.
Yeah, I don't think we need to wait for the
No.
determination, but yeah, we should, I mean, if you're looking, so honestly,
Do we need a
we're not
continuation?
in the hurry as long as you're
Yeah,
not.
so that's
sort
up
of thing.
to Lou and Jim, but that was our intent originally, was to make the changes once we get Brockton's peer review comments and make it all at once and then come back with a full set. So we're okay continuing. Are you?
I think part of the problem, Chairman, is that the whole peer review process in Brockton is kind of crazy as it relates to delay, timing, and other issues. So.
We were trying to get a joint review. but-
You know, I would personally like to see an approval of the project here and just deal with Brockton, which we will have to do. As you know, there's a new plan or two in Brockton, or you may not know, but.
Yeah. The only thing, Jim, is some of the flows from Brockton are coming into the basin in West
All
Bridgewater.
right, so
So
you-
I just didn't want anything to affect the basin spillway or whatever,
All right.
even if it's minor and not.
The
Have you approved
engineer
them, right?
wins.
Yeah, I would say wait until after
All right.
Brockton does their peer review.
Sure.
You know, that way, we don't have to wait for Brockton to make a decision, but at
Mhm.
least, you know, if you're,
That
If
we can
they're
get this
comfortable with that
revised with the
point.
corrections from our engineer.
yeah. I mean, I only bring that up to the deadline, the decision deadline for this is July 27th.
We'll give you an extension.
Okay. So if you could just, email that to.
I will.
To us. All right, great.
Is there any specific date or time? How do you want to handle that?
We meet the first and third Wednesdays of each month.
Mhm.
So if you wanna, extend it to that point, and, you know, if you feel comfortable that, hey, we should be ready by August, whatever the first Wednesday is.
Talk with Tracy and see if we can get a date, and then I'll put it in a letter, and we need to modify it, and we'll do that.
Should be a motion to continue?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think our conditions on the special permit probably be no different from the other, we've done quite a few of these now, actually. We've got a gentleman here who's done a couple, and they'll be the same conditions, so. Yes, do I hear a motion to, well, actually, we're not gonna,
We need to continue it past the 20th.
yeah, I was gonna say, continue to a,
Date.
If we're not ready, I'll come in with a request to extend.
Yeah, I think if you send in we don't forget the date, if you could send in the request to extend it to what you're comfortable with, and then when you want to
Right.
get a meeting together, I think that would be best. I don't want to forget that July 27th, and all of a sudden we're going to we haven't seen anything for extending.
It'll be
it.
August anyways.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
All right, so motion to continue the meeting to a time and date to be determined.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we get written responses too?
What's that?
Can we get written responses for Pat Brennan's comments?
Oh, yeah. One thing, we're trying to get written, a lot of times you'll say, yeah, we addressed all of Pat's comments. If you
Oh,
can
we'll
get
do that
in
when we submit
writing
the
too-
revised plans. We always submit our response letter
Okay,
to their
great.
review. We just haven't revised the plans yet, so you'll get a letter with the revised plans.
Okay, great, thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you.
We are running a little bit late, so the 7 o'clock hearing will probably
See if they-
7:15 or so, if folks don't go away with. All right, next on the agenda is 175 East Street site plan.
East Center.
What's that?
East Center.
Did I say East Street? East Center Street.
Yes, okay.
Merchant extension.
Scott, that's my stuff. You can just toss it aside.
Thank you, Eric.
No problem.
I'm gonna go sit on that.
All you can do is to Tracy's and she's, we all reached out, the same thing.
Floor's all yours.
Okay.
I said
Oh, the floor's all mine, thank you.
yours.
For the record, Eric Dias, registered professional engineer, Strong Point Engineering. With me tonight, I have Z from Vineyard Farm, and I believe we have Elio on Zoom on her phone because he was not able to attend in person, so we need to make the board clear of that. Just before I get started, point of order, I know we have one member that was not at the first hearing, and we're down a member who was. So who do we have for voting members on this matter tonight?
We have myself, Mark, and Jerry. Jen, did you have a chance to review anything?
Partially.
Okay.
Because she was sent all the information.
She was sent all the information so she could read it through the Mullins rule and vote, so we have quorum and we're good to proceed. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you got a quorum of 3 anyways. 'Cause
Okay.
You don't need that special permit, it's just like plan review.
Sure, I just wanted to
Yeah.
establish that for the record. So, since the last time we were here, I'm not gonna,
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
we have the 4th person.
oh, fantastic.
Hi, sorry.
Timing is perfect.
Oh, it's cool in here.
So we were here 2 weeks ago at your last meeting, and I won't reinvent the wheel, but what we were here for was site plan review. The things that we talked about were primarily parking and how it relates to the use of the beer garden. And we've established that we have plenty of parking on site under the bylaw, but we've separated that between, permanent parking areas and temporary field parking areas. I think the biggest thing that we were caught up on last time was conservation approval, whether or not it needed conservation approval. Since our last meeting, I had a chance to meet with Tim Hay. We went over the plan. Tim has agreed that it is an administrative approval that is needed for this. So we did install some stormwater management features that Tim has indicated that he is satisfied with. And I believe he was supposed to send word through the chairman today of that. We are in process. We just need to submit a formal application, but he's satisfied with the plan and all of that is taken care of. Aside from that, the only other things that we made changes to is we designated employee parking on the site. We added a fence around the arena for riding in the beer garden, which, as we discussed last time, is not in place right now, and it may not even be this season. But when the arena for riding goes live, it needs a fence to keep people out of it. And the only other thing that we did was we put a few permanent bollards in front of the food truck so that cars can't crash into it. So I believe that addresses all of the concerns that the board had at the last meeting, but I'm certainly glad to answer any questions, or you can tell me if I missed anything.
I did have a couple of comments from the building commissioner,
Okay.
and also, I saw him and Tim Hay, just so you're aware of it. They wanted a barrier satisfactory to the building commissioner to be added around the proposed bathroom building.
Here,
Yep.
did they indicate what type of barrier they're asking for?
No, you might have to talk to him about that. We can make it a condition.
If that's something we can condition, I don't have an issue with that. That's
Yeah,
fine.
we can make it a condition. No functions to be held in the proposed bathroom building.
Fine.
Okay, and
It's to
then-
be a shelter. In the event that it starts raining, people can run in there. It's not going to be somewhere that they are intending to set up tables and seat people and things like that.
Permanent fencing to be installed around the arena for riding.
Permanent fencing?
Yep.
Sure. We have a note for a rope fence, but if they have something else that they're looking for, then we can
Yeah,
hopefully
they
condition
wanted
it
it
as
more.
something more permanent.
Yeah. It's probably, yeah, I mean, the comments, and we can get into it, but, you know, you can talk to Nick tomorrow.
Yeah, we can coordinate whatever
Revise
you
it.
want.
And like you said, yeah, Tim Hayes is gonna do the stormwater as an administrative, function. He said to put the number of days in the stormwater application.
He
I guess
did.
that's been a big, that's Tim's, concern, so you can put that, the number of days you expect to
Yeah,
have
we're
these
going to
big
use the
events.
full parking. Yep, absolutely. And just so this board is aware, what we had talked about originally with Tim was around 30 plus or minus, around 30 days a year. That's just for your information, but we'll make sure that that final number makes its way into the application.
All subject to weather.
All subject to weather. I think Elio had mentioned, we were at the last meeting, 2023, he intended to open 16 days, he opened for 3, all because of weather, so.
Anybody else got any questions? All right, we need to get a couple of motions. One is to move to approve Vineyard Farm Enterprises, Inc., request to continue, no, wait a minute, that's not, that's propose. Here we go, move to find. I'll get this soon. We need to move to find that as conditioned, the following site plan guidelines set forth in section 7.2, and rather than reading them out, I'd like to waive those, the reading of those conditions, unless you want them.
Sir?
Motion to waive it?
Motion to waive.
Okay.
Second.
So the guidelines set forth in section 7.2 have been considered and satisfied by Vineyard Farm Enterprises in its application for a site plan modification for 175 East Center Street in the general residential and farming business and floodplain district to update location of structures, fencing, and parking, and to make associated improvements as shown on the proposed two-sheet site plan entitled Site Development Plans prepared for Vineyard Farm Enterprises, Inc. by Strong Point Engineering Solutions LLC, revised through. So you'll need to talk to Nick tomorrow and revise the plans so that he's satisfied with them.
Sure.
Can you just give me a date that those plans will read?
Why don't we say no later than Monday? What's the date Monday? 19, 20,
21, 22?
22nd.
Yeah, why don't we say Monday the 22nd?
Okay, so if you could put, June
Yeah.
22nd on the
Sure.
plan, so that this will meet that. So by Strong Point Engineering, revised through June 22nd, 2026. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Votes 4-0.
Aye.
Move to approve Vineyard Farm Enterprises, Inc. application to modify the approved site plan for 175 East Center Street in the general residential and farming, business and floodplain districts to update location of structures, fencing, and parking, and to make associated improvements as shown on the proposed two-sheet site plan set entitled and formally read, revised through June 22nd, 2026. We have proposed site conditions. Donna, these are on that, yeah. No functions to be held in the proposed bathroom building. That's listed twice, by the way, Donna,
Okay.
so you can take out number 4. Barrier satisfactory to building commissioner to be added around the proposed bathroom building. Permanent fencing to be installed around an arena for riding. As-built plan to be provided to the building commissioner / zoning enforcement officer for approval. Animal separators with safety blocks and rotation areas. Bollards to be installed between parking area A and food truck and snack stand. Parking in front of farm stand limited to farm stand patrons. No parking on Route 106 East Center Street. 2 parking attendants on site at all times during events. Farm stand parking time limited to 20 minutes. Signs to be posted.
Can we change that one to a minimum of 2?
Yep.
When is that?
So minimum of 2 parking attendants.
Because if it's a large one, he's gonna.
Need more parking attendants.
Yeah. Signage to direct patrons to the farm stand. Stormwater plan required through Conservation Commission. That's administrative through, how do you want to phrase that? It's not through the, well, it's through the commission, I guess, anyways, but it's
Through their
a,
agent at least.
it's an administrative application.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spill prevention plan and materials to be kept on site. Emergency access and egress to be provided. Any changes to the plan will need to be submitted to the building commissioner, zoning enforcement officer, and planning board for review and approval. That's any changes after you've got satisfied, so. As-built plan, that's also listed twice down, Donna. So that's not needed. Any questions on those?
None from me. So you good?
So I get a motion on the floor to approve.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vote is 4 to nothing. All right, should be all set.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right, next on the agenda, Horsepower Road definitive subdivision application.
Because it became a residential.
For what?
For those who know what we're just talking about.
Well,
Residential designation also.
Yeah,
Just
it's-
wondering if that.
it's farm.
Good evening. Live on the site also.
I don't think they're,
Stand
I
on
think
the
it's
side
just,
if I may,
I
Mr.
think it's
Chair.
just the
There
business.
is that one sign sheet going around.
I don't know, actually, that's a good question.
Hasn't signed it yet, we could do it, that would be great.
Just want to see if.
Maybe we can discuss that after the meeting.
Of this plan?
Yeah.
I don't believe we do.
No, we don't.
No, I asked Tracy, she. Okay. All right.
All right, sorry about that.
All right. Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering, representing MJM Construction for the Spring Street roadway improvement and horsepower lane. Since our last meeting, we've had a few things that have occurred that we're kind of reflect on this plan. Mandy and I met with a few members of the homeowners association in the neighborhood out on Pearl Road a couple weeks ago, and discussed a couple of things. And really the biggest item was the ability to get a temporary easement within that 17-foot strip of land that we've discussed at length that was part of the Pearl Road subdivision. So we have what we're calling a temporary easement. And within that 17-foot easement, we have a series of plantings that we discussed with the homeowners association and that we have shown on the plan. So that's one significant change that you'll see. The other one, we spoke to the neighbor across the street at 255 Walnut Street with the industrial building there. And as we've discussed at a couple of meetings, conservation meetings, your plan board meetings, their biggest concern was the curbs and the curb cuts and how that would impact their property. So we've, the plan that we have shown currently, we have two items that I guess pertain to that. One would be they at least have an agreement, a verbal agreement for a 5-foot easement on their property. And within that 5-foot easement, we're calling it a grading and construction easement. So that'll allow us to eliminate the curbing on that side, to eliminate any retaining walls that we had, and also for us to cut back that pavement and make sure that we can get their property to drain into our drainage system. So by giving us that 5-foot temporary easement, we make sure that happens. The next thing that did for us was eliminate the curbing on that side of the road, up against,
And who's the property owner that's agreeing to the easement?
it's listed as Small, Stephen Small.
So it'll just be an opening there?
Yeah, so.
That's what they wanted. I
Yeah,
think,
so what we've talked about was no curbing all the way down to their existing edge of pavement, which is roughly station, I think it's like 470, starting at 0 at Walnut Street and coming down. So that first 470 feet will be open like it is currently, and then the vertical granite curbing would start at that point. It was discussed and requested that we leave them a curb opening right in the middle of this kind of unused portion of frontage that they own. We had a conservation meeting last night. They weren't in favor of having that curb cut in that location. So the next set of revised plans will have that curb opening that I have right here highlighted. That won't be on the next set of plans. So that's one change that came up. So those are a couple of, I guess, major items that pertain to the abutters on the north and the south side of Spring Street. I can show you a little bit more detailed landscaping plan up against the Spring Street homeowners' property. But if you go out there now, there's a chain link fence that runs roughly in the middle of that 17-foot wide strip, and that chain link fence has kind of a heavy brush cover on it already, a lot of vines and things like that. So the plantings that Manny has talked about would be in addition to that on the backside. So that's the plantings along Spring Street. Again, at our last meeting, we discussed it with one abutter in particular, right here at number 27, and the feeling amongst everybody that the trucks coming out of Horsepower and turning onto Spring Street, he would have really the biggest impact out of everybody, as the residential property. So we've come up with a design that we think will at least mitigate his impacts a little bit. We've got, in this area here, we have a 2-block high segmented block wall, 2 blocks high, and then a stockade fence on top of it. So it'll roughly be a 10-foot high barrier that'll kind of protect his property from headlights and just from anybody driving down the street and getting a clear view into his pool and his backyard. As you go up the street, obviously the road kind of bends off a little bit, so there's kind of a natural buffer with that open space that you folks created in the Pearl Road subdivision. So that property was certainly affected. The neighboring property, we extended the wall and the plantings a little bit onto his property just to make sure he doesn't have any headlight glare into the back of his house. So we made those adjustments. I guess the other significant thing might be more of a conservation issue, but it's certainly worth mentioning. The road, there's a small portion of existing Spring Street that falls in the 50-foot buffer zone. And as you folks know, the Conservation Commission has a no-touch 50-foot buffer zone. We need to request a waiver to work in that. Typically, they ask for some kind of planting mitigation at a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 ratio. Instead of doing something like that, Mandy has agreed to deed over that entire property, make it a conservation restriction. It's about a 7-acre parcel, so the entire parcel from the zone line, everything to the left or to the west of the zone line is industrial, everything to the east or to the plan right is zoned residential. So between that zone line and in Spring Street will be subject to a conservation restriction.
That'll put the abutters at ease a
Yeah,
little bit
to make
too.
sure there's no future residential development regardless of whatever happens to a wetland or bylaws or anything like that. So that's another concession that Manny has made on the project.
Is that water line still going to go through?
The water line still goes through. We've talked to that's a good reminder, Mr. Chairman. We did speak to the water department about it. We spoke to Tim Hay and the commission about it, where it would be a temporary, let's see if I can find it, a temporary wetlands crossing to put that water main in. And again, at our last meeting, the neighbor who was most impacted by that water line hooking up to Pearl Road, we talked about potentially moving the existing easement. Right now, as part of that Pearl Road subdivision, the 20-foot easement falls on their property. They had some significant landscaping there that they weren't thrilled that we would have a machine and a water line going through that. So again, in talking to the homeowners association, it was agreed that we could create a new 20-foot easement on the open space parcel. So we'll still have the water main looping from Horsepower temporarily through that wetland area and hooking back up to Pearl Road within a new 20-foot water easement and voiding their finished landscaping in their backyard. And again, conservation was satisfied with that, was okay with us crossing the wetland for the water being in the public good.
So may I ask a question? Did you get a consensus from the homeowners association, and did they put that agreement or their consensus opinion in writing to you about what these mitigations are? Or is this one or two homeowners that are?
Well, it was the, I guess, the board of directors, I guess you'd say, or the homeowners association board. But our attorney wrote up some easement language for that. We just gave it to him tonight. It's all happened pretty quick in the last week or so.
We haven't 100% agreed on any easements yet at this time.
A lot of this is landscaping,
Yes.
and you putting that out to bid for who will do the landscaping on this? Or
No, the applicant does the work.
What about the entry to the spring? There was a lot of concern about safety there. There's not a lot of landscaping, it looked like, that
Yeah,
was going there. Is there anything that's being done there or
Yep,
was
we
that
did.
talked about?
It was talked about, and
It's kind of on the town though.
yeah, so there is, to be honest with you, it doesn't show up great. I could get you a blow up, but it does. We did talk about it, like I said, we met 3 or 4 of the neighbors out there. It'll be 2 weeks ago on Friday. We spoke, we walked all the way in from here, all the way along the edge of the road to get an idea of what the buffering looks like now and what it's going to look like afterwards, obviously once the road is built. But we did spend a considerable amount of time up at the intersection of Walnut and Spring Street, and it was agreed to do some additional landscaping in that area, in the town right-of-way, not on the pavement obviously, but on the town right-of-way of Walnut Street. And then within that 17-foot strip, some additional plantings, and also 3 boulders that we would place on the back side of the guardrail. There's an existing guardrail there, so it would be on the back side of the guardrail. So it would be guardrail, 3 boulders, and some plantings. They have a little bit of landscaping in the back there, and again, there's some brush and vines and things that provide a little bit, but we're certainly looking to upgrade that at that intersection. The one other change that came about once we really honed in and looked at that intersection, there's a utility pole there that's been hit, and it's I think it's snapped in half, and there's a new utility pole right next to it. That's going to be moved. The Stadelman Electric's already been out there to look at it and to kind of start the wheels moving that utility pole to get it in a better location as opposed to right dead center of somebody coming down Walnut Street. So I think those few items, the boulders, the plantings, moving that utility pole, hopefully it makes it a little bit safer than it is today.
So those few items are like $500,000 easy with the change of the $500,000 easy, right?
Yep.
With the change of the property going into a buffer zone, keeping it as wetlands or whatever you're going to call it. So this is a tremendous investment for someone who said before that you didn't have a tenant, didn't have a plan. Is there a data center being planned here and things like that
No.
in that area?
No, certainly not.
And is there a possibility of putting in some restrictions about what could go into that area, just because I think there's still a lot of blindness?
Yeah, I
for-
understand. I think
I'll just finish, please.
Mhm.
There's still a lot of going into this blindly in terms of knowing what actually will be in that space and the perimeter. Although there is a buffer zone for drainage and things like that, there are sometimes can't be buffer zones for other types of neighbors and things, whatever kind of material or items that would happen in an industrial space. So I don't know if that's also something that the homeowners association could consider maybe thinking about, if it was in my backyard, I'd probably think like that.
I think the problem is it is zoned for industrial farming, so.
So
You
I think
still gotta
that
come in
also-
as site plan.
Exactly, so our answer would be,
So-
it is hard to imagine, but you see, you folks have a couple of them on Manley Street, some big warehouses that were built and have sat vacant for years. That's kind of just how the business goes. You build them and hope somebody comes to it. Nobody signs up based on a paper plan, so it's just the risk that all these developers take. So it isn't just Manny on this site or on his other
We're
site.
still gonna have to look at
Yeah.
the site.
Yeah, but it'll be it's something that's gonna be allowed by your bylaws in the industrial zone. It would have to fit
There was
within
also
that.
some remark, I mean, I think that's where it stands today, but I think that another one of the remarks from the audience previously were, the streets aren't necessarily wide enough to accommodate these type of trucks and machinery that would be going down the street. And I think that, I don't think the intention when they built the Pearl Road development was that it'd be right next to industrial. And I think that that's a deeper, longer discussion, but maybe the predominance over there should be more residential. And maybe there's an option to change zoning. Because we've now made a significant investment with our residents, and they've made their investment into Pearl Road. So I realize that's, you're probably gonna make your voodoo doll that looks like me on that, but I think that's unfortunate if I had my house right there and there was an industrial complex that was gonna go up after I've lived there and put the investment in there for a few years.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it is zone industrial. It's too late to change it because they've come in with this plan.
But
I
there's a
did
lot
have-
of accommodations the town needs to make in order to help make this happen, is what I'm saying.
I did have a couple of thoughts. I was just looking, and I did see the street sign at the end of Spring Street. You probably need one in Horsepower Lane too, but more importantly would be to prohibit anybody taking a right out onto Walnut Street, or trucks in particular. So if you had a no right turn, trucks underneath that sign, going from Spring Street to Walnut, and same coming the other way, from Walnut, you can't take a left into the site. I mean, nobody in their right mind wants to go that way, because, you have to go up to West Chestnut Street, so.
Yeah, you'll be
probably
there all
going-
day.
Yeah.
Right.
But it would be something, just to keep trucks from going past Pearl
Or keep
Road
them
to the
going
farm.
left to the industrial park.
The problem you got is you've got Angels up the street, which has heavy equipment running down it every day.
Yeah, but at least
They
we
wouldn't
can,
turn on Spring
we can deal
already.
with this one.
Yeah.
Angels is, I mean, again, that would be subject, it's a public, again, Spring Street's a public street, and I did mention it being an ancient way. I found a map from 1831 and it's on it, so that's how old that street is, but it's been public for
I've walked it.
whatever, almost 200
It's still
years
there.
at least.
We can certainly add that
On the
that
other-
signage to the plan and would certainly
Yeah.
agree to that as a
And the
condition.
other thing, I'm thinking if you're gonna have that wide open driveway along Spring Street, you might wanna have, fog lines, white edge lines on both sides and
Sure.
and a yellow line in the middle.
Understood.
So is the town eventually going to be required to widen that road?
They can only
Because
do what I mean, the layout is only 33 feet. If the town decided to do a taken, that would be up to the town.
it doesn't break any rules about allowing an industrial park without good feeder roads, right? So we're allowing expansion of industrial zone, but we don't have good feeder roads to get there.
Yeah, if the proponent owned either side of that road, that would be one of our, you gotta make it 50-foot wide, we want a strip.
The problem is they don't.
But yeah, the problem is they don't, we don't have any, the town has no authority to say you've gotta do this taking to make it 50 feet.
It's
It
on
is
the
what it
town to
is,
do it,
and-
yeah.
I always just think of the flip side, right? So the flip side being in a residential, in an industrial complex, and you're trying to put a home into an industrial area. It's all industrial, and we're trying to put a home into it, because we've got a little portion of this area which is still listed as residential. I mean, in practice here, this town has wiped away that residential's zoning right and decided you're no longer residential. We've done it on West Center Street and decided that those homes are gonna be now commercial. Yeah, we've done that as a regular process, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've ever considered doing it on the flip side. So I just think it's something.
No, I don't disagree. Actually, I was talking to Tracy a couple of weeks ago. It's something the town, we need a new master plan. We need to look at all our zoning. And again, it's one of those unfortunate, this is after the fact sort of deal that we can't do much. They've got a public road in front of their site. It's 30, it's only 33 foot. This isn't the only 33-foot layout in town. And we can only make them do what we can.
But the shovel hasn't gone to the ground on this yet, right?
Yeah. But, yeah, it's something to, going forward, if there's any other cases like this in town.
We have a lot of erratic road layouts in this town. I mean, North Elm Street, I think, goes from, varies, 106, goes from 55 in some spots to 40-something. Just the old timers, when they set up these roads, their crystal ball didn't quite go far enough.
I agree, and living Pebbles off South Elm Street, we've seen the impact of the developments in Bridgewater and, everything that's happening down on that side and what's happened to South Elm Street. And it's not wide enough. And we allowed all the development, we didn't have a say in it. We've even had our own developments in some of those other off-roads. And so there's an impact on those feeder roads and then the houses that are coming off of them. And I just think that if we don't realize what that impact is and we just keep doing it and saying, oh yeah, nothing we can do about it, there's nothing we can do about it. I think we have to look at some of those decisions that we made were maybe not the best and figure out a way to make better ones. Because that's just a recipe over there already. I'm sorry.
Anybody else on the board? I just wanted to open up to the floor if they've got questions. Yes, sir.
Patrick Mulvihill for West Bridgewater Realty Trust at the warehouse there. Just wanted to clarify a couple of things. We did speak with Mr. Maginga and Mr. Ferrier regarding proposed new plan with no curbing showing in the 5-foot easement, the temporary construction easement to do what Mr. Maginga wants to do there with drainage and whatnot. We just want to reserve our rights/positions because there's another issue that Mr. Maginga and my client have to negotiate in order for this to move forward, and we just want to reserve our positions/rights to say that, yes, we tentatively did agree to this, but until the other issue, which it's not germane to this board and this body, is negotiated, which I think it can be, then we're going to reserve our position. But we also have engaged with an engineering firm in the front where that pole is, because my client owns the left of it, to possibly do something nice with the front opening there when Spring Street, if in your infinite wisdom you allow it to go through, does get developed. We may want to reconfigure the front there to spruce it up and sign it. I don't know if it can help the traffic issue because it's right at that snapped pole.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ken Ellis, 24 Pearl Road. Same thing, we did, we walked with Scott and Manny, and they were very receptive to our concerns. But there's some other issues I'd like to discuss. The Conservation Commission, there was a 53G report done, and they had some issues that I can see on this plan. Scott mentioned one of them. The Water Commissioner, the Conservation Commission did not want to get rid of the curbing, and that's because of the runoff would go into that area of the wetlands. And Tim has made it apparent to me that he's very concerned about how wet that area is. And yes, they're going to be dealing with stuff on surface water, but we don't know what's going to happen under the ground. Okay, part of that 53G, I think, Scott, they had to adjust and make the basin larger because Tim felt as though it's going to be a little bit more wet than they thought from all the test pits.
Based on the test pits we did,
So
we enlarged
the ground is wetter than they think, and we don't know where groundwater is going to go. And by adding all this road and pavement, Okay, that's like a pressure squeeze, and it's just gonna squeeze that water in the ground, and it could come over to our area and into our leaching field. That's number one. Number two, on the report, there was some Cape Cod berm, which I researched on. It's just that little berm on the side of the road for water runoff, kind of, get it? That is completely inappropriate for an industrial road. For a gross ton, 28,000 gross ton, 18-wheeler driving on it over time, it's gonna flatten that berm, and that berm is gonna allow water runoff, not go into the basins, but into our area. My other concerns are the amount of waivers that the town is considering on this road. Scott, can you tell me how far the edge of Spring Street will be to that structure, 255 Walnut Street? Roughly?
10 feet.
10 feet.
Again, that's existing, that's not proposed, that's 10 and a half up.
But they don't have a whole bunch of 18-wheelers coming back and forth, or anyone else accessing that property other than them at this time. So if we didn't grant the easement, there would be 0 sidewalks for this gentleman's employees to be walking around with 18-wheelers coming down a 26-foot wide street. In the wintertime with ice and snow, with no granite curbing, that 18-wheeler can just drift right off into that structure. It is inappropriate to allow and give all these waivers. Horsepower Lane's gonna have the industrial road of 60 feet wide, 38 with the grass and the sidewalks, but Spring Street isn't. So what I'm getting at is without our easement, there should be at least a restriction on gross tonnage of what type of vehicle can be on that road. There should not be box trucks. There should not be 18-wheelers going down that road. It would be irresponsible to allow those type of trucks to be driving on that road with no curbs and most of it with no granite curbing and no sidewalks.
If I can just throw a couple out on, we do have vertical granite curbing proposed on the north side, on your side of Spring Street. We did have curbing proposed. We were requested to remove it and ask for that waiver by the abutter. So we're trying to appease a neighbor as best as we can, just as we are with the homeowners association. So we do have vertical granite curbing all the way down to 800 plus feet of Spring Street.
That abuts our fence, that no one's really gonna be walking there.
I mean, you just said we have no vertical granite. I'm just telling you we do.
Correct, I'm talking about on the other side where all the human beings are. And the employees who are coming and going out of that building, there is no curbing to stop anything from running off the road into them or into that structure. Never mind that, we have 30-some odd kids in our neighborhood who may now, with a new road there, start pedaling their bikes, start going down in that area. It's an inappropriate road to have those size vehicles. Now, I'm not saying a plumbing truck, an electrician's van, or something like that, but to have 18-wheelers and large box trucks coming and going all day long, that road is not meant for those type of cars.
Can we go back to the leaching field for 1 second? Where's the leaching field?
The drainage.
The comment
Oh,
was
their-
concern
their-
for the
their-
groundwater.
their
Where's
leaching-
their leaching field?
Sure, their leaching field is right up here.
Is that lower than that?
No,
part?
it's
I thought it was
considerably,
higher.
it's considerably up gradient from everything here is coming from Walnut Street down, all the way down Horsepower. We're containing everything, we're catching everything in Spring Street. Right now, the watershed area comes from Pearl Road and sheds all the way across into these wetland areas. So we're trapping that water, catching it in our drainage system, sending it down, down Horsepower into our giant detention basin. Their
That's not groundwater, 8 feet.
Their septic system is
We don't know what-
considerably higher than our system. Everything abutting us is up gradient from us. So it's, from a drainage point of view, it's, you know, it's the perfect site. Everything is heading there. The watershed area, pre-construction and post-construction is the same. We're handling everything. We don't have anything leaving the site. And we're catching everything that would be potentially that currently impacts 255 Walnut Street from shedding across the existing pavement on Spring Street. We're catching it all with the series of catch basins that we have along the south side of Spring Street. So we're, by our drainage design and our construction, we're making the 255 Walnut Street property much better and taking all of that water off of his parking lot and bringing it into our drainage system.
And then the no curving, was that not a request of?
Yeah, it was a request by the owner,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to
Yeah,
We're trying to do the best we
we
can.
put it in and they asked to have it taken out.
But Conservation said no because he was concerned of water runoff going into the
If
wetlands, saturated.
the conservation is a 20-foot curb cut right here. They're not talking the 600 feet.
Right.
Again, the last plan that we came before you folks with 2 weeks or a month ago, it was all curving along the road, and there was, I believe, one curb cut here and one curb cut here. The owner, expressed his displeasure with that at the meeting, and then we talked outside of the meeting. So the elimination of that 500 feet of curbing is at the request of the abutter. So we're doing the best we can to try to work with everybody, the town, the boards, the planning board, conservation, highway, water, and the neighbors. It's hard to keep everybody happy, but when the direct abutter doesn't want it, then, that's where we stood. And that was, again, we talked to all the town departments about it, so we felt like that was the best we could do.
And then my next point with the report, is there any way the town can guarantee us that Spring Street is not going to continue? Because they were asked to move a fire hydrant that was at the end of Spring Street and Horsepower and basically in the middle, and it said for future expansion of Spring Street continue.
It's also state forest past that further down.
Well, it's still paper road,
Yeah, but it's state.
all the way to Spring Street.
Yeah.
So what's to say that we're not coming back here again to stop a road from going all the way to Spring Street?
There's no, besides Manny's property that we've just committed to giving to the Conservation
Until he
Commission.
buys more,
I'm sorry?
until he buys more.
Everything else is owned by the state. So unless the state starts selling land, it's owned by the state forestry. They're not selling land. So, until he buys it, I guess, but that would be an issue for the legislature. I don't think that's gonna happen. There's, I don't know what else we can do besides the existing
Yeah,
conditions
to be honest
that
with you,
exist.
I mean, Spring Street's been there forever. I lived on one end of Spring
Mhm.
Street, 65 years, whatever. The chances are it's never going, I mean, it's
Well,
very.
chances were when we did our development and we moved in, that we wouldn't have 400 or 500 feet of it repaved and
Yeah.
turned into industrial. So
Yeah.
now that who knows, 10 years from now, the town may decide to ease traffic. They want to connect.
I guess what
Spring
I'm
Street.
saying, I mean, anything's possible. Chances are that it'll never happen because it's just a dirt road that goes from here down to the other end of Spring Street.
Chances are.
Well, there's nothing there to develop, that's all I'm saying. So,
There is.
but we're not,
Can we hold on
just one thing, we can't conjecture, we're looking at this proposal as a standalone. Whatever happens to Spring Street, which I don't think will ever happen, that's a decision for another
We don't
day.
even know what the plan is.
Before we go one more, so the restriction request on the gross tonnage, what do we have as the planning board? Is that realistic request, being that the entrance is not the correct width? Could that kick in a restriction on gross tonnage for trucks that could access that road?
I don't believe so. I think only the state can put tonnage restrictions. I really don't know the answer to that one.
I don't either, that's why I was like.
Yeah, I know the state can put restrictions on bridges. I can't off the top of my head ever think about a road that's got restrictions.
So we can look
It's
into
gonna be
that
what,
and
28
figure
feet
that out.
paved?
26.
26?
Yeah.
Can you make 28? You have no
Sorry, I
sidewalk.
just wanted to hit all of his before.
I just have one question. Arthur Lucas, 10 Pearl Road. Is it a yes or no answer for if the waiver is denied for the 50-foot buffer zone, is this project dead?
The 50-foot buffer zone is a conservation
Yeah,
issue.
it's not.
But if, I'm just, the question is has that been approved by the conservation?
Nothing's been approved by anybody at this point.
That's the only question.
I think we're all here as neighbors because we've raised our families here. We've all been here for 13 years. And if we had known that this was going to happen, none of us would have ever built there. And that's really why we're all here, to be honest. We can talk about roads, we can talk about trucks, but that's the reality. We've put a lot of money into our homes. We've all built pools that we want to sit back and enjoy and not listen to trucks dump all day. That's why we're here. That's why the neighbors are showing up at night, talking to each other at meetings. It's 23 homes that are affected by this, that are raising their kids, and their kids are in schools, and it means a lot to us that this doesn't happen. And that's the reality. You know, we can talk about birds and the conservation and the water, but this is families in our neighborhood that just don't want this.
You know, I understand. From our perspective, we have to look at each project, and if it fits, if it meets the subdivision rules and regulations, you know, and the waivers are reasonable, we can't deny it just because we don't personally like it.
What,
The state,
One at a time, one at a
the
time.
state will
Hold it,
just
hold it,
come
one at
back
a
and
time.
make
what
us do
becomes
it.
a reasonable waiver?
Yeah.
You're almost cutting the width in half.
Well, that
That's
will,
not reasonable.
well, that will be our
It's
decision.
27 feet. Well,
That will be our decision.
decision. No one's given us anything. Every aspect of the road has to have a waiver. Curbing, granite, sidewalks, width. Every aspect of the road needs a waiver.
And some we can't, as a board, do anything about. Like I mentioned, we can't make them get land that they don't own.
Correct. You said that you have to grant them access to their property. But an industrial road should not be there. It's way too, everything is a waiver. There's going to be wetland waivers, there's going to 3 or 4 waivers just for the street alone. Every single aspect of the road, other than probably the depth of pavement, has a waiver. How is that reasonable? You said within reason. That is not reasonable. Reasonableness is based on what the general public would find to be reasonable. And I'm telling you, the general public would not find 3 or 4 waivers on every aspect of a road to be granted would be reasonable.
Do we have any questions specific? No, I mean, I understand, you know, I guess what I'm saying is there any question specific to the current proposal or not? You know, we understand that the neighborhood is opposed to this. So is there any questions on this current proposal? Yes, please.
Yes. Maureen Ellis, 24 Pearl Road. My question is, can you explain how the opening will be changed? So I have huge concerns with the way that it is now and that curve. It is a very dangerous curve. Forgive me, board, I was not at the last meeting, but I'd like to speak to the safety of that. I personally know that a safety inspection was done by school bus department, and they deemed that it was unsafe for a large school bus to take a left or a right out of Pearl Road because of the traffic that's coming around that dangerous curve. We've had many accidents around that curve. So has there been an engineer, a traffic engineer? Is that something that we could request, to have a traffic engineer look at the safetiness of having a potential large trucks coming and turning that road? Could we request a safety traffic engineer?
I mean, it's appropriate to request, and it's a good point too,
Thank
is
you.
to have a site distance or show the site distances coming out of Spring Street and also going in, but knowing off the top of my head, I mean, it's straight both ways coming into the corner, but coming out, is there any brushes, trees, or anything like that to obstruct it? That's
Yes.
a fair question.
Yes, thank you.
You know, and if you could show, you know, the site distance triangles.
As you said, the site distance exiting this, I mean, the safety concern, the traffic concern is people coming down Walnut Street from Manley Street and making that 90-degree left-hand turn, basically. The trucks exiting Spring Street, as you said, there's a pretty clear sight distance up towards Manley Street and up on Walnut Street heading in the northerly direction. There's plenty of sight distance in each direction.
Yeah, but if you could show
I'm concerned
that.
We'll
with
certainly
being
show
a
it.
one,
If
so
you
it
could show
will
that.
now be one vehicle going in and out. So the traffic backup, so one coming out, taking a while to come out with mirrors or whatnot, other cars coming, trying to come in, having to back, it backing up a few things. We have kids waiting at the bus stops at the top there, so I don't know what time traffic would be coming out. So if we could have a traffic engineer take a look at that, and keep in mind of the children that would be standing out on the curb in the mornings.
No, I think that's a
and
good
the
point.
traffic. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Graham Hume of 12 Pearl Road. So I'll start by saying everyone has valid positions here because everyone has a role to play. A developer, you're working for the developer. Admittedly, I'm on a road, I don't want it. But I'm acknowledging that if it happens, we want to collaborate, right? We don't want it to be a one-way street. But I'm not going to repeat everything people said here, but I do want to ask a few questions. I'm going to cherry pick from what I wrote. I think it's fair to ask a few things. We just hit the traffic study. I think what's tangential to that is we have a bridge. I walk that road all the time. If you go over that bridge and you walk that bridge and you look at it, if you're going to increase heavy traffic, whatever it is, that needs to be improved, studied, and figured out what it is. Because if that bridge goes, all of us, everyone, commercial, residential, part of my language, we are in it's not a good situation, I'll say it otherwise. So I don't know I know there's traffic assessments the state will do, there's bridge inspections, but they do it every 2 years. All I'm suggesting is that whatever decision the board makes, that should be part of it, in my opinion. Because everything else that's said here is important, but that's also, that bridge, if you don't have it, it's a problem. So that's point one. I think the other point I would make is, if we don't know what type of cargo is coming in on the trucks, that's another piece of it, which is hazardous cargo coming in? I'm not saying it is, but we don't know that. And in a residential world, if there's an accident or a spill, that's something we should discuss as a group before whatever decision we make. I think it's a reasonable ask that I think everyone in the room, if they were directly or indirectly affected, would agree on. Reasonable minds would agree on that. So that hasn't been discussed in any way. The other thing that I would just point out is there's real impacts by virtue of everything we're talking about, mitigation techniques, barriers, etc. So all I'm suggesting is, I appreciate that, all of us, but the reason people move into town are for neighborhoods like that were created, Farm Road, Pearl Road, etc. Taking this step is effectively counteracting that, as one of the board members said. Now, I'm not suggesting you have control over that, but it's something that I think the board and the town needs to consider. Because, let's be direct, property values, not just for our road, but all around it, go down. Your assessments go down. That affects not just tax revenue coming in with the new development, but it affects tax revenue for people that have been paying for 13, 15 years. Again, I'm not saying that that's a reason to deny. I'm saying it's a reason to just consider during this process. That's all I'm suggesting, right? I think reasonable minds could agree to that. The other thing I would suggest is safety is a concern. If you just go up and down that street every day, there are kids ranging from 6 to 7 to 16. So what we're talking about here, all I'm asking for is, if this is going to happen, someone mentioned that we can't force anyone to put sidewalks down the road. I understand that. But if you can't force a safety mechanism, but you can't allow something that makes it unsafe, that doesn't seem logical to me, okay? So all I'm suggesting is, if there's a vehicle to apply some level of safety in the areas where children traverse, at a minimum, if we could talk about that, I think that's reasonable. And I would just suggest, if you were to go and look just in the summer months and look at the type of children who are going up and down the road, I love kids, but they're not that smart. They're not going to look for trucks. And there's four-wheelers, there's quads. So I'm putting aside my bias. I'm just, instead of repeating everything, I just want to raise legitimate points that I think if any of us in the room, or if I would ask anyone in the room, would you really want this if you were a homeowner next to you? I would argue most of us wouldn't. But we're willing to play ball if that's the only option. But I think it's only fair that we should get all of the questions and issues on the table and have a reasonable discussion about it. If that leads to an approval, I'm not going to like it, but that's what it is. But it should be an approval done, in my opinion, with safety mechanisms and everyone being heard. The developer has a right to pursue. That's part of living in America. He wants to do what he thinks is best. I respect that. But someone said it well, I think Kelly did. People We didn't build these homes. Literally, when we were told that we were building here, it's, you can't touch anything around us, right?
We've been told that.
So, shame on us, I didn't go, and that's fine. So now if that's gonna change, some of these things are very important to cover. I would argue, bridge safety, curbing for the sidewalk. When I walk that road, there are points where right now, even in perfect conditions, getting around with 2 cars, I walk that. It is not safe. So if we're gonna do this, we should all go into it wide open, because if accidents start happening and people get clipped, someone's going to sue the town. And that's a legitimate concern. Now, they may not win, but you have to pay to defend you. You have to go through all of that. These are things that I would just respectfully request come up in this process. I am fully acknowledging, and I think if anyone who was a homeowner, and if you're not, you wouldn't want this. So I'm saying that, I'm putting it out in front of everyone, but I'm also saying if you approve it, I would just respectfully ask that these key points be raised, and that we can have full disclosure on them so we know what's going on. Because right now, we don't know what type of cargo is coming in. We don't know the hours of operation. We don't know if there's any noise restrictions. We don't know our lights on like all night. We don't know any of that. So, and I'm not suggesting you have to know it all right now, but it should be part of the equation before approval occurs. Because it's not equitable to the people you're asking to swallow a big pile of whatever excrement you want to put. And that's just the reality of the situation. So I respectfully put that forward to the board, acknowledging everyone's interest here, but I think these are really important points that haven't been touched on, that should be, before any decision is made. And I'll cap it there. Thank you.
Okay, just for one point, and again, I want to focus, right now, we have before us a subdivision road. When they want to do the site, they're going to have to come back for site plan approval. That's when a lot of those questions will be answered.
Okay.
I mean, right now, yes, it's an industrial area. We kind of know what's going to go in there, but that's like beyond right now. Right now, we're just focused on the road. Is it safe and whatnot? And then when they come back for a site plan, those questions like hours of operation, the trucking, everything else comes in. I don't mean to kick the can down the road, but I want to kind of, you know, we've got certain lanes we have to stay in, and if we start expanding it, then we get into trouble. So we got to.
That's fair.
So, but you know, you bring up good points, and I wrote some of them down, and these are good points. I know the hour's getting late. Does anybody have anything new to bring up? We just got our comments.
Matthew Spady, 11 Pro
Yep.
Road. Scott, I have a question about the watershed. We've talked about the basin, and I'm just curious. You keep speaking of the watershed from Pearl Road, correct? Wouldn't our drain system from our road collect all that water and take it, or what watershed are you speaking of?
I'm saying from.
Just from the back of the houses?
Exactly, typically
So
we
not
figure
much.
from the center of the house is, well, I mean, it's whatever's from the back of that's going there now. That's the watershed that's there now. So the back of everybody's house, they're all
Just
shedding
want
now in a
clarification.
southerly
The
direction.
way you were speaking of it, I felt like you're talking about everything coming from Pearl Road is going to be collected by what you guys are doing, and that's,
No,
it's just a minor
said
point. I
Pearl
just
Road,
wanted
but-
to.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I just wanted to.
I added 15 feet to it, so it'd be from the center of everybody's house back. The 50 feet of your front yard goes into yours, the rest of it comes into ours.
Gotcha.
Just so you know, we sent these over to our peer reviewer today, I believe. He came back with a lot of comments again. Hasn't had time to formalize it in a letter, but he's going to get a hold of Scott and go over those comments. So there's going to be another round. Obviously, there's another meeting to go on. I don't know how much. Our next meeting, it would be July 15th, I think.
Correct.
We've already got 2 hearings on that date, at least. I think we got 2 on that date, so I don't know if you're going to be ready by July 15th for another go, or...
To be honest with you, I mean, yeah, as far as us making the changes for the peer review consultant, I mean, he's, you know, he turns things around in a couple of days. So we would have our changes in to him, and I would assume we'd have a letter back. So July 15th would be plenty of time for us to make the changes that we've discussed, that Mr. Brennan's come up with, and get it back to everybody in plenty of time.
Okay. I got a feeling the other 2 hearings are going to be shorter.
What other-
175 North Main Street, which is an existing...
That's the parking place.
Yeah, they want to put in 12
The car
used
dealership?
car, yeah. And the other one is, we already reviewed it about 4 or 5 months ago, and they changed the building around, and it was...
It's Manley Street. I believe.
Oh, that's the one out back.
321 Manley Street, they're adding a loading dock.
Yeah, and the loading dock it changed the site plan a little bit more than like a minor modification, so we have to review that, but those both should be quick. And I want to set a time certain for this one.
So are we moving forward with a road safety study and a bridge assessment, requesting a bridge assessment? Because there will be, I mean, what seems to be an obvious significant increase in tonnage that will be going over that bridge.
That bridge was hit 30 years ago by a tractor trailer and completely rebuilt on 24. The tractor trailer body went up and it shut that bridge down for a sizable amount, and the state rebuilt it. There's a new water main on there because it took the water main out that was underneath the bridge.
The state
That was
generally inspects those every 5 years, I believe, on
But
those
that was
bridges.
hit, and I mean, literally lifted off its foundation by a tractor trailer coming down 24. For some reason, the dump body came up and
So is there diligence that we're required to do to understand when that inspection, I mean, it sounds like it's a,
I believe it's what, 24 ton now?
No, the next one is.
33?
33 tons posted, 3324.
Is that 133? Okay.
Yeah, it's 33 tons posted. So no vehicles over 33 tons.
I thought West Street was posted.
West Street is.
That is posted too?
But I think it's a little less than Walnut.
and it allows for a large truck like that to pass with a personal
'Cause they're gonna
vehicle
be a
or two
maximum-
large,
Yeah,
can
there's
you
a
pass two
maximum.
large trucks?
But you're talking, what, I think the law is what, 100,000 joint weight?
105.
105?
So I'm just wondering, do we have a requirement to due diligence on, like, what the audience has requested for a safety study for the road, for the turn, improvements, the bridge capacity, or the turn, you know,
Doesn't fall under
traffic,
us,
anything like that?
We don't have it in our rules and regs. Again, our rules and regs desperately need to be updated. It would be great to have a safety study. The bridge is under the jurisdiction of MassDOT, so I don't think, we can get, or the applicant can get the bridge reports, and whatever is posted, it's posted. They do study that bridge, might be even more frequently than every 5 years, but,
I think the one other thing that, the concern about the sidewalks, and that's on Walnut Street. I think, on the other side of Walnut Street even is probably more, but, there's nothing we can do with it. That's a town issue, a DPW issue that should be taken up with the DPW. It's an existing condition, we all agree with that, so I don't know if there's anything we can do on Walnut Street at all.
I know at the intersection of Pearl Road where it was my daughter who almost got hit, and she was parked on Pearl Road by a car coming around the corner. And they came up, and the DPW director at that time, who has since retired, they came in and put barricades up, and they were gonna do something different. He didn't like them, so he took them out. I mean, in theory, that guardrail should come almost to Pearl Road.
all right.
But that's the DPW issue, it's the thing, and I don't agree with the comment with Mr. Lucini's buses go down streets that have worse intersections than that one. And when the road was accepted, his excuse originally was it was a private road. When the road was accepted, he was supposed to go down there. He goes down other dead-end streets. He says he doesn't, but he...
All due respect, I think the situation with this, they did do a safety study themselves. They have a safety engineer that deemed it not safe for the bus to take a right or a left, and that's why. So with all due respect, would the board be willing to request and forgive my language, a safety engineer to come for that area?
I don't think we have jurisdiction to
I
do
mean,
it.
we can request it. We
Okay.
can't.
I know that
We
it
can't make
doesn't,
them do it.
Yeah, we can request it,
You
but we
guys
can't.
I understand you
require
can't make
it.
it happen, but I'm just, if it's a request.
if we go down the road and a traffic engineer makes a whole bunch of suggestions on Walnut Street,
Then we
It's
hand
still,
it to
it's
the
still the
DPW.
public, yeah, the DPW is
It's got
gonna
nothing
handle
to
it.
do with
My
us.
concern
Yeah.
isn't Walnut Street, but maybe how it's aligned, how you plan on doing your road to meet Spring Street.
I do understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
even that, in that specific areas where we met with the 3 or 4 neighbors 2 weeks ago, and that's within the layout of Walnut Street. The DPW could redirect that, DPW could redirect it to make it a T intersection, so you'd have to stop. They could make it a 3-way intersection.
Yeah.
We've got no control over that. It's lined up enough, could easily be a 3-way intersection, but that's, that's a
So-
heavy lift and a lot of work, and that's nothing that we can do at all. So even if we did have a traffic assessment of Walnut Street, with all those suggestions, I don't know what we're gonna do with it from that point.
So it's the planning board that makes the decision on how to rearrange that road, or is it DPW?
It would be their existing street layouts, it would be DPW.
DPW has everything to say on the dirt part of Spring Street. Because it's a road, an ancient road that is existing.
Yes, yeah, okay.
And due to the fact that when that warehouse was built, attention or the rules and regulations, it was a few years before me, they didn't have frontage requirements and things. So technically, today, that building couldn't be there
Yeah,
because it would have had to be,
that's why the road's constricted the way it is.
it's because it was an ancient road that was built. I mean, it originally was a liquor warehouse that outgrew the warehouse, and it has since had many occupants. The present occupant's been parking on the road, which technically, according to our bylaws, is against the rules and regulations.
It's also parking on the HOA property.
Yes.
So that's
I mean,
an
the
issue
building
itself.
itself doesn't really have access off its property because it's of the dirt road.
Scott, question about the utility pole out on the corner there. Is that on Spring Street in that part of,
It's on-
it's on Walnut?
It's within the Walnut intersection.
So that's okay
Layout.
we talked about asking for, you're not doing anything on Walnut Street, but then it's okay to pay to have that changed and.
Because it's a utility pole that you can request the utility
To move.
it. So again, that has
On-
nothing,
On town property?
still on the town property, right. The utility company has the right to do it. It has nothing to do with the planning board or the DPW. It's the utility company controls their utility poles.
And they could say no.
Right.
Or you
Certainly
could put
could.
it on the list for 10 years out.
Most people's property has an easement for those utility
Utility
poles.
poles, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, can we, obviously you got a little bit of work to do, so we're gonna request to continue. So I need a motion to continue
15th.
to July 15th at, let's say, 7 o'clock.
I'll move that.
It may be a little bit later, we do have the 2 hearings before, but
I'll go fast on mine.
July 15th is 7.
Do you have a
Say they're
second?
both yours?
No, just the one is, but I'll go fast on that one.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.